And this is why I'm the only person you can trust on YouTube to deliver Pokemon news. Everyone else has absolutely no idea what they're talking about because the only thought in their head is how can I make the most money off this thing that everyone else is talking about when I understand absolutely nothing about it. Like, there is not an original idea in these guys' heads. Like, that's just fact right now because they see tweets, they see replies, they see articles, and they do absolutely no critical thinking, and they just regurgitate the information and hope that their audience buys into it because they have now created just this environment of idiocy, and it blows my mind. So what we're talking about today is a patent application that was actually published back in 2016. So before Pokemon Sun and Moon came out, people are trying to relate this to the Nintendo Switch. The thing is, it got updated for America. Now, I don't understand patent law, but I'm just guessing that it was in Japan, and because the games got localized heavily, or maybe because there's a Pokemon Company International, they need to kind of go out and make sure this kind of gets a worldwide coverage, or maybe they are trying to actually do something with this technology, and it's so revolutionary that they want to kind of protect it on all fronts, in all countries, in all domains. And even then, this was filed October 25th, 2017 for the USA, and it just got published April 26th. So the thing is, people are trying to relate this to Nintendo Switch, and what I mean by, and even then, like, unless it's Cerebi, unless it's PokeShopper, unless it's actually a trusted source, it's all garbage. We've already seen that Pixelpar is a fraud that has no idea what he's talking about. Same with a lot of these other ones, that there's just no real information. They throw a lot of darts, they say my insiders were wrong, and that's kind of it. But this blows my mind because a lot of people are referencing this article, which has no idea what the patent actually means. Details have emerged surrounding a patent application submitted by Nintendo Game Freak, developer of Pokemon series. Application appears to be an interactive kind of trading card design, except if you actually read the patent, it's none of that, and they try to relate it to the Nintendo Switch. In case you have any doubt this application do anything with Pokemon, terminology used later in the application, put your mind at ease. Player can capture, collect character, wild monsters. It's not really like trying to relate to anything. It's also interesting to note that while we suspect this technology is intended for use on Pokemon Switch, application makes it clear that it can be used elsewhere. That's because this is actually a pretty dope technology when you break down the patent. But it's not a trading card, and it doesn't seem to have anything to do with Nintendo Switch, and it seems directly related to the 3DS, and let me show you why. So, this is a card. They're not referencing a trading card in this patent. They're representing the card on the Pokédex, the Pokemon's information card. And then this is where things get a little extra fancy. Because when we're talking about the technology, so I just wanted to show you guys, we have some legendary Pokemon, or like legendary, non-legendary, and then stuff like that. But then when we get to the thing that's being referenced here, so I haven't captured Solgaleo, I got Pokemon Moon version, but look at this. It's about a card that has like this color changing, and they're talking about color changing in the card. So really, they're just representing the technology behind the legendary Pokedex entry because it's actually something intense. Like, you don't think about it, but right now I'm tilting my 3DS. This is using the gyroscope to actually affect polygons and colors inside of the game by using the hardware on the 3DS. This is technology that Game Freak wants to keep to themselves because someone else could steal this if it wasn't patented or if it wasn't valued that heavily. And then again, we look at the card, that looks like just a random sketch for Solgaleo. So let's see the abstract. Non-limiting example, so again, it's not only for a Pokemon game, it's not only for a card, that this is the technology that they are trying to patent. Includes a display device and a card display screen, including an image of a card object that is displayed on a display device. So it's on the device. This is not a trading card. This is not some kind of scanning card, and somehow people have been trying to relate it to this because of a patent that was filed back in March trying to use the 3DS. So I think, like, yeah, it's the new 3DS only because it can actually read amiibos and stuff. So like amiibo cards that interact with the 3DS. That's a really cool idea. That's why it's patented. That's why patents exist. But people are trying to relate this to Pokemon in that kind of way, in that kind of idea, and it's just stupidity. So we can already see that it was filed for the time of the 3DS, and it directly relates to 3DS technology. It's not an external card because they're actually referring this as a title card, or like, an effective thing kind of like a title card. The image of the card object is constituted by a character image arranged in the frontmost and composite image that's arranged in the back. So that means we have a Pokemon overlaying over this, and if you look through some of the other Pokemon cards that you see in the Pokedex, you can see that that's effectively it. And with a composite image obtained by combining a color change image, a background image, and a pattern image. Color change image includes a plurality of polygons and a color of each vertice set to cyclically change according to the attitude of the game apparatus. Man, that doesn't sound like the Nintendo Switch. That sounds really close to what's going on in here. It's in a bit of like legalese and technology speak, but let's keep going. Now, there are a few things that I wanted to talk about in post really quick because I don't feel like I made a distinction between a patent and a trademark, and we do talk about trademarks later on in this video, but when it comes to patents, that's about protecting an idea, a concept, a technology, something mechanical, and that's why the language is so crazy and so in-depth with this, because it makes sure that everything is covered with this idea to where they could use it for future applications, and no one else is really going to have too much room to take this idea and apply it to something else. Like we have this right here, for example, a part of the body of the character, a decorative item worn by the character, a weapon or item possessed by the character, etc., can be shiny with this background. And that's why I feel that this is a lot deeper than just, oh my god, we're gonna have a trading card game from the Nintendo Switch. For all we know, that could actually be some kind of trading card experience on the Nintendo 3DS. So that's why I don't like the idea that people are just trying to run away with this and the most hype sounding thing about a Pokemon game. And also remember, this is a 2016 patent and it looks like this. And it has like all the breakdowns, because if you actually look at the 3DS, you can see the different layers. You can actually see that this is effectively what they're describing for a 3DS technology with what is used for Pokemon Sun and Moon. But remember, they are patenting the idea of making this hollow foil effect. So could it be used for TCG? Sure. Is this a confirmation that's going to be for a TCG product to mimic the experience of something that's going to be like pulling a hollow card? It could happen. It's probably likely to happen because that'd be a really awesome thing. But at the same time, people are more spreading this as the information and why this is such a big deal. When really, when you kind of look at these cards, it seems like it's more about the identification card of a Pokemon than an actual trading card experience that's trying to be patented right here. I kept digging through it and it's a little mixed. Like I said, this just covers everything instead of just what people are trying to make it out for on the Nintendo Switch, which is why I feel just kind of being a lot more rational about this instead of trying to get the most type story out there is what kind of makes my channel a lot better for distributing the news. Now also, this is Game Freak. They don't just make Pokemon. Game Freak is behind Giga-Wrecker. Remember the Giga-Wrecky trademark that we saw? That was like, oh my goodness, this is a new Pokemon? Giga? Like, what does that even mean? Something like that. Well, they have actual like weapons and effects and stuff. So I'm not saying this is going to be for Giga-Wrecker, but if Game Freak does make another product in the future, they can apply this to some other RPG that they might want to develop. And also, Nintendo could have been like, hey, you need to patent this, and then we can use it a lot of other cool things. So I think that that's one of the aspects behind this. And again, it's like trying to translate all of this stuff into the Nintendo Switch. Through the patent, it is protected because the gyroscope on the 3DS, it does talk about that, but then later on the patent, it does kind of bring up that it can work for any kind of motion control. I think they even talked about like an accelerometer kind of thing, because effectively the algorithm behind it can translate over that. There's a lot of like trigonometry and vertice talk and a lot of crazy stuff, so it does get pretty detailed and it can work for the Nintendo Switch, but I don't think that this actually like makes it as much of a guarantee as people are trying to promote it as. And my thought is, if this had a lot more significance for a future trading card, then there would probably be a bit more in-depth about what this could apply to for something like a trading card, because the way these layers break down and the way that they only show these cards, it really just describes what we already know about for the 3DS and not giving us anything else. Like, there's no stat sheet here, there's no like way that it could be repositioned and then only have like one area. I think that's another thing, like when it shows it like this, it doesn't just kind of show like one area that would be hollow and then the other side just kind of being a more matte text or anything like that. So again, sure, they could use this technology elsewhere, but I think for right now, it's just kind of like, nah, it doesn't automatically confirm or mean anything beyond what we already see on the patent, so let's just kind of calm down a little bit. See, this is what I mean. They don't have an original thought in their head. They see people freaking out on Twitter, they see this garbage article posted by, again, someone else with really not too much credibility, just making a really dumb observation that doesn't relate to this at all, and then just trying to get the most views out of it. Hints at Nintendo Switch. Oh my god, Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about Nintendo Switch. It's a new thing, even though it talks about something old. That is the utmost stupidity. we were at in the Pokemon community. Color change image of the background combined with each other, brightness of the background cyclically changes, and the color change changes as well. And then we can even see right here, we're talking about a gyroscope. We have roll, yaw, and pitch. That's gyroscope, that's camera, that's actual like 3D space and rotation, which is again affected by what we can see right here for the Pokedex card, and even like the character thing right here. That's, yeah, that, I don't understand how anyone could think this is for the Switch or an actual trading card. So then the more we scroll down, the more interesting that this gets. And that's another thing that blows my mind. I think this guy just like read a Twitter post or found some forum and then just like copy pasted that information without actually reading into it for himself. Because like he does show these other images that kind of go down. You know, initial processing acquired data from input vice. I'm believing that just is going to be the input vice of the gyroscope. Stuff like that when we break this down a bit further. And then going into that, so yeah, this shows the angle that's going to be changing. Another way that we can see that this actually applies to the game is that we're dealing with polygons and grids that work on the patterned image. And again, if we look at this, we can actually see these patterns inside of the 3DS. So let's see if I can get the angle right. But yeah, you can see that there's like those little broken up squares that also hide behind these like triangle vertices and stuff. So I'm not the most technologically advanced person, but we can see that this actually goes crazy in depth. And then yeah, so just kind of like scrolling down, taking random pictures to be like, look how cool this is. Calculation of card color, angular velocity data, angle data. So it's not like, yeah, it's a card in the game that's being like modified and stuff, not an actual card that you hold up and then apply like that. So I don't think it has anything to do with trading cards. And then in all of this somewhere, the guy kind of extracted that this is about Pokemon. So that's kind of it. And this is actually crazy technology. This is what I mean. Like, this is why I feel that this is about a technology perseverance patent that's actually applying to something that has already been developed. So that means Game Freak, Nintendo, they might want to use this in the future. Sure, this could be for the Nintendo Switch, but it's not like we have any kind of crazy new atmospheric thing involving. Like, they just might keep this idea for either some kind of feature that's happening in Nintendo Switch. Maybe they just bring it back for the but even then, on Nintendo Switch, it's a lot different, because the gyroscope is inside the 3DS. A majority of the 3DS's, or the Nintendo Switch's gyroscope, is in the Joy-Con. We don't see any references to Joy-Con in this patent, which really shows why it doesn't really apply to Nintendo Switch, but they do have this idea. So using the actual technology inputs, they can transition this to the Joy-Con, to the Nintendo Switch, and I don't believe the Nintendo Switch device itself has an onboard gyroscope. I'm not super 100% sure, but I'm like 95, because it's all about the Joy-Con and their HD rumble and their HD detection systems that they have inside of it. So, I mean, we can see that this is pretty much exclusively 3DS, not really referencing any, like, external cards or trading cards or anything like that, and then kind of recapturing, like, they also have to describe, like, how this works, you know, moves an enemy character and or makes arbitrary enemy character perform arbitrary action following the operation data. It's just kind of showing, like, all the computer components, every value of RAM, and how, like, the game itself processes, and what this means to the actual card inside of the Pokédex and how that applies. So a lot of kind of crazy stuff going on right here. Now, the reason why people are going crazy about this is because there's a precedent. Everyone hides behind precedents, because much like we saw recently with this right here, you know, we were getting all these leaks on 4chan. Remember that leak on 4chan that turned out to be real? Now every leak on 4chan's real, even though like 99.9% of the garbage that gets posted to 4chan is going to be fake, and until it has like any information that's proven, there's no reason to think that. But people are literally saying, well, remember the Alolan starters? Those were real, so this obvious fake could be real as well. You know, they're trying to preserve the zero credibility that they have by just spouting garbage and then getting their, I don't want to call it an idiot audience, but I mean, if you're just believing these guys and you keep following them when it's just proven time and time again, they misrepresent the news, they don't have any factual information, and they're clickbaiting rumors and pretty much just equating rumors and leaks as the same exact thing, you know that their content is worth nothing to the Pokemon news community. So that's really bad right there. But yeah, so that's one of the precedents. But another thing that happened is the Pokemon Sun and Moon trademark was leaked a day before the Nintendo Switch. I believe it was on like a German filing site or something like that. But because of that, now every single patent that the Pokemon Company puts out, it relates to the new game. It relates to something amazing and insane, guys. Even though this is already an old patent and it describes existing information, but no, that's not worth the views, guys. That's not how anything works in Pokemon, and it is really unfortunate this happened. So of course, the Pokemon Company, they need to be a lot more careful about their patents, which is also why I don't feel like the Ultra Shiny really means anything. We're not getting a leak about the Nintendo Switch game. And also the patents, like, they're all over the place. Sometimes they're released after the information or after that kind of technology has been revealed, because when it comes to the trading card games, we actually used to have patents and trademarks for these sets of the Pokemon TCG. Like, I think the break mechanic was trademarked, a couple of the X and Y sets, but we haven't seen anything recently. So again, I don't understand patent law and trademarks and stuff like that and how it usually happens. But also when it comes to merchandise, by the time we have a merchandise leak, we don't have any information on the patent. So the patent comes out after the merchandise has already been revealed, and then the patent just needs to be ready for when that merchandise hits the market or whenever that technology hits the market. So by then it's already going to be later than the leak or the actual information drop, because there's that time period that has a buffer. So Ultra Shiny, it could relate to anything. And also it doesn't have any of the distinction for shiny Pokemon, as well as the tags that signal this has anything to do with a main series Pokemon game. So again, because the one time we had patent shenanigans, well, not that one, the one time we had patent shenanigans going on, now every patent is of clickbait insane importance when it really isn't. And just because we had the one fake that turned out to be real, now every fake is real until proven fake, when it should be fake until proven real. So that's kind of it. Also, as for the design, you know, I don't think they're trying to patent new Pokemon or anything. There's also tons of unused patents, so that could fall into line with the Ultra Shiny and stuff. Just kind of like getting Pokemon game names and stuff. And then also just like rough sketch. I just pulled up the article of beta Pokemon, but it's like, I'm just going to sketch something on here. Boom, that's a placeholder. Kind of looks like the legendary Pokemon because the legendary design is what's taking use of this gyroscopic technology. And that's kind of it. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.